Howdy, folks. Dave Mann here, Roman Revolution. We have a bit of unhingedness going on in D.C. A little bit of pandemonium, as they like to call it. And the reason why we have this crazy little business going on in Washington, D.C. right now is because Representative Matt Gaetz has basically taken his political career and thrown it on the fire in the hopes that he's betting that the American people are going to back him in the decisions that he has proposed on the House floor. Now, if you haven't seen the speech, you need to see it. It's a kind of a the ball is in your court kind of approach. It's one of his, I guess, shining moments, if you want to put it that way. But Representative Matt Gaetz wasn't there for a popularity contest. He was trying to make a point, because back in January, you had this agreement that was happening behind closed doors. You saw that whole charade that was going on with McCarthy, and they went back and forth with votes, and then finally they settled on something. But in order to get there, there were agreements and there were promises that were made. And in those promises were the things that Representative Gaetz was talking about. Now, the reason why we have this little pandemonium thing going on here and a bit of unhinged McCarthy is because we are hitting another plateau with spending. And we talked about this 6-something months ago when we were talking about that bill that McCarthy ended up passing. I call it the McCarthy-Biden bill, okay? Because he put no caps, no limitations. He basically gave Joe Biden everything he wanted and said, here, the credit card limit is whatever you want it to be. We're talking about people that claim to be fiscal conservatives. We're preaching all the bullshit in the media on cameras, you know, we need to make sure it's like giving a child a credit card. You know, you heard the whole thing coming out of McCarthy's mouth about the credit card thing, right? And then what does he end up doing? He strong arms you in the middle of the night, tells you he's got everything covered, says all of his friends and colleagues home, says he's got this. No, he didn't get this. He was making some deals because of his weakness and the fact that he is a puppet. He's Nancy Pelosi's bitch, in my opinion. Point being is that he's not a very effective leader because he's being strong-armed. He lost huge in that deal. Actually, he didn't lose at all, which leads to the point that, you know, I came across a quote that somebody said, Thomas Sowell, and I'm going to read it to you. It's got it on the screen over here. It's hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong. And that's McCarthy, Joe Biden, and the rest of these people who have no problems raising that credit card limit without getting a cap on spending and a control on what the hell we're spending this money on. You see, what Matt Gaetz has done in the last, 72, 96 hours, whatever it is basically call in the promises that McCarthy made back in January in order for him to get his speakership. Now, granted, these things are way beyond the scope of what I call, good governance. I don't think that we should be doing back alley deals and bartering bullshit in order to get shit done. If you're a conservative and you work for a certain party and you claim that you get elected based upon these principles, to strong arm people or to manipulate people by doing the opposite forfeits the job that you claim to hold. Because again, if you're going in on false pretenses, that's like basically me telling you that this is a 1998 Ferrari, blah, 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 and really it's a damn Fiero. Okay, there's a big damn difference. You're basically presenting yourself as one thing and then you're doing another. And again, America cannot afford this. And we are now hitting the event horizon. We're at the point of no return. And the only people that are calling this stuff out are brave faces like Matt Gaetz. And then I think it's Dan Bishop was the other guy who went on the House floor and says, no more continuing resolutions. I'm done with CRs. And CRs, okay, you hear this thing called the CR, you're going to hear the media talk about it, that look, if you don't get this continuing resolution, or we don't, the government's going to shut down, it's going to not be able to pay its bills, and the United States has never not paid its bills, and blah, blah, blah. You had Janet Yellen on, I think it's CNN or one of these other shows today, telling you about how great the economy is, about how good the labor force is, about, she lied stone cold face to the camera, telling you that McCarthy needs to figure out a way to get it done. Now these are all signaling each other, telling everybody what's going on here, what needs to be happening. But that's the deep state at play. This is the whole fight. This is what the whole MAGA fight has been about. It's been about trying to gain control again of the government that is by the people, for the people. These son of a bitches, not Matt Gaetz, but these son of a bitches in DC claim to represent you. You know, they spend millions of dollars every single year campaigning to get your vote. And again, I keep asking people, do you know who these people are? Do these people know who you are? Do they know or have the vibe of the people that they claim to represent? And if they don't, it doesn't matter if you're in a blue county, a red county, purple county, it doesn't really matter. It matters if you say it matters. Look, you can see it doesn't. This is a colorblind issue. That's what I keep going back to. Mother Hubbard's cupboard is empty. And the federal government right now wants to spend a little bit more, putting it this Donaldson or whatever it is, Donald's CR basically is an 8% cap or whatever it is, but it's like a 30-day thing. They keep pushing this out there, but it's never really any control over their spending. It's just kicking the can down the road, and then what they're going to try to do is to roll it into like an omnibus bill later, so nobody really kind of sees what it is. It's just rolled up into another package, and then we kind of send it off. Everybody gets paid, everybody gets their checks, and everybody's happy. We got to stop doing this, okay? The reason why we're broke is because we're spending at a rate that this country just cannot. There's not enough tax money coming in, not enough revenue, not enough any of this stuff coming in, spending at the rates that we are. And then you're basically saying, hey, don't worry about it. You know, yeah, another trillion, but yeah, we'll owe you. We don't have it right now, but we'll owe you. What's happening? You're seeing all of these other countries pulling themselves out and trying to disconnect themselves from the United States. Why? Because they can see what's happening too. You can't just keep writing checks and then have nothing to back those up on. They know even that there's not enough people in the labor force to support that amount of spending. And they want more money. The answer is fucking no. No. No more money. The reason why we have no more money is that if you spend it and you're wrong, country's over. So I go back to what Sowell was saying. It's really hard to imagine that we give you the power to do these things and make these things when you suffer no consequences by being wrong. What if you're wrong? And that's all Matt Gaetz is asking. What if you are wrong? We need to revisit everything in this budget. And again, if let's say armed services, appropriations coming up, well, okay, we'll deal with those things at that specific moment. But what everything happens, and the way Congress has been working over the last 25, 30 years, is basically they just shove everything and they just keep sending it down the line to the point where it gets to the end of the year, and then they shove it all into one big ass bill. And then the people that are on those committees or whatnot, they can't vote against it because it actually helps the people and the constituents that they're working on. So they end up voting for a bill that's actually bullshit, and it really doesn't serve or protect anything or even help the American citizen. But what it does do is help out all the people and their friends and their criminal friends in DC. And this has been happening for way too damn long. We need to go back to basically revisiting each agency. And each agency that's doing their job and doing their job right, we need to audit it. It's basically a clear house. You can see what's going on in this country. We're spending ourselves into an oblivion. There's no accountability for anything. People keep losing things. You lose billion-dollar airplanes. But look, we spend money and just throw money. Another $24 billion for Ukraine, another $100 billion for Israel, it's ridiculous. The country here is dying. And you are concerned about what? The government's going to shut down on September 30th if you don't write any more checks. So come on, please. No. What is wrong with you? You're like a little whiny bitch child. I mean, your little child just keeps going, but I want it, I want it. No, McCarthy, no. It's silly. I think the reason why you're starting to become unhinged is because you had this plan in your mind back in January about how, you know, you were going to agree to all this stuff, and then down the line you were going to basically find a way to push it down the road and push it into an omnibus bill anyway. You thought that that was going to work and that nobody would ever, you know, question this. And then when Gates called your bluff, you threw a hissy fit. And then when you started, you know, recognizing your options, you realized, well, it's one of two. Either I show my cards and basically tell everybody that I'm playing on the same side as Pelosi, the establishment Republicans, and everything else, or I go with America. And so far, based upon the way your body language and your responses to the people that are in your party that are actually trying to make things work, you basically look like what we all thought you were from the beginning. A puppet. A person who's weak. I mean, you may be a good person deep down and may want to do the right thing, but you have too many people pulling at your strings and you don't realize what the most important thing is. Because America is waking up. They're waking up by the thousands a day. I mean, again, I talk to everybody on a regular basis and they're all saying the same thing. They may not agree on everything, but they all recognize bullshit when they see it. And they all recognize that both parties don't serve them anymore and nobody's listening to anybody. And then when people like Matt Gaetz come out there and they say something that actually resonates because it's truthful and it has nothing to do with whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, people resonate with that and they go, you know what? Let's just listen to what's going on here. And that's what we want. We're at the point now we were like, we spent everything. We don't have anything left. You want more. You want me to agree to it. And you want me to feel good about agreeing to it. Yet everything in my house, everything when I go out, everything when I go fill my gas tank up, it's much more expensive. And I'm supposed to feel good about that. I'm busting my ass and I've got less and less and less. And you want to spend more and more and more, which is going to give me even less and less and less. I mean, I just don't understand where the concept comes in your mind, Mr. McCarthy, and anybody at this point who sits in Washington, D.C. and claims to represent people within districts that are starving, are paycheck to paycheck. And that's most of Middle America now. You have destroyed this country with your spending from the COVID limits, 40%. You just spent $1 trillion in the last 90 days. People don't understand these kind of numbers, okay? But the thing is, you have to pay this back if you are going to be good on your credit, okay? Now, for the longest time, it was backed by gold. Now it's backed by the full faith and credit of the people busting their ass every single day. So the only way you're going to get this money is either you're going to have to come up with better ways on how to balance the budget, spend less, get rid of the shit that you don't use or that is garbage and is not even serving anybody, or you bankrupt the nation, which is looking like the direction Mr. McCarthy and his friends in D.C. would like to take this. The answer is no. No CR. The answer is no to any more continuing resolutions, no more omnibus packages. No. We're going to start looking at things line by line. We're going to start looking at every spending issue. Because the way I see it, and I think the way the American people are starting to see it, is if you can get control over the things that these other individuals hold dear, which is money, and squeeze on those things, their ass puckers up like a fucking snare drum. And then they just skedaddle out of the way. Because you know why? When they don't have money, they can't buy votes. They can't influence anything. They can't control anything. And they certainly can't manipulate anything. When you take away the purse of the things that are not serving the American people, you watch how things will just flip themselves around. This is all happening from within America. It's all happening on purpose. And you have people right now at the helm with the opportunity to do the right thing. We are at the event horizon. We spend any more than this, there's no way. There's not enough people at the bottom. The guy at the bottom is being squeezed already to the point of no return, and you want more. Janet Yellen's telling you everything's fine. These people don't give a shit. Why? Again, like I said just a moment ago, You put this power in the hands of these people, and they make these decisions, and they don't have to suffer the consequences. You have to suffer the consequences if they're wrong. Blows my mind, right? And yet they call you the animal. They call you the idiot, the moron, the freak, the cesspool problem of America. That's what they call you. But these are the ones who created the fucking problem in the first place. And then when you try to talk any reason into them, they want to argue with you and tell you don't understand. If the government doesn't have enough money to fund itself, it's going to shut down. Woo! No, then it shuts down, okay? Like a business. If you can't learn to pay your frickin' bills properly, and you can't learn to manage the money that comes in because you're irresponsible, well then you need to shut down. That's the way it works. You don't just keep writing checks because you keep fucking up. I mean, nobody's paying for your fuck ups anymore. We're done doing that. That's what you need to understand. The reality that you've been fighting is the reality that American people just want to make this country better. I don't understand how you can fight with the American people, Mr. McCarthy, and any of your constituents or any of the people that you plan on trying to side with to try to pass this thing. Just think about what you're doing fundamentally. I mean, as a human being, what you're doing fundamentally, you are willing to sell this country out and spend it into oblivion, into the unknown, which could eventually just destroy America. You are willing to make that risk rather than sitting down and saying, look, we need to look at each one of these things one by one and saying, look, we need to cut this, we need to cut this, we need to cut this, we need to go back to this. Look, I'm not an economist, but I can tell you when shit ain't right. Okay? We all know it, we all feel it, we all sense it. We're all trying to do everything we can to survive during this. But you keep pushing everybody into a corner, trying to push Democrats, Republicans against each other and trying to make us like, it's not that anymore. It's us versus you. You've created this line in the sand. And Gates is right. I want to vote on the floor. I want a vote on the floor on all of this, because anybody who's going to start voting for this kind of stuff and is going to have to start making decisions on passing bills left and right, we want to know who's willing to do that. We want to know the people, exactly the people willing to sell out America. We want the votes on the floor, even though we may not win on some of these things. Now, we know that. I want to know who is siding with the globalists, who's siding. We want to know. We want to know everything, because you're not going to, the blowback you are going to experience from all of this is just, you have no idea. You really are, everybody I think is in for the biggest rude awakening of all time. Really. I have never seen people more motivated, more involved, more, their blood is just literally boiling, because you've given them no option. You've left them with nothing but to fight for their own life, their families' lives. You pinned everybody against one another. For what? To divide and conquer. Because if you hate me, there's no way I'm going to side with you, even if I make sense, right? I know how the psychological games are played. We know how the crap is disseminated from the CIA, from all of these, brilliant people, right? Writers, script writers. We know how it disseminates down, and then the media just tries to drop this shit. But people are starting to recognize what it is in real time. You can't even listen to it. I mean, it's painful to listen to when you know you're being lied to. And these people do it with a straight face. Sometimes they can even provide tears for you. We've come to a very weird time in American history. But it's more important that you govern yourself accordingly. You provide yourself with everything you possibly need to get the information you need to make the best decisions possible for your family. And I'm telling you right now, you're not finding it on anything mainstream or anything that has .gov at the end of it. They're just not on your side. Trust the people within your community. Work with the people in your community. Build up from the people within your community. This isn't Democrat or Republican anymore. Take those names, throw them out the window, okay? We can rebuild whatever you want to call it together as one. MAGA, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. The point is that we're moving towards something bigger and better than we had it before. That has always been the goal. But that comes down to self-governance. And self-governance is everything that is good about the Constitution and that Declaration of Independence. Okay? The Constitution is giving you proof that you can self-govern yourself. This whole thing is about taking away that and pushing you towards a system of privileges, not rights. That's where we are in this American history. And all I'm asking for you to do is to call your senators, call your representatives, call the people that are representing you, and you tell them no more spending, no more, you can call it CRs, continuing resolutions, no more of that until you can show us where you're making these cuts. We want to see big cuts, controlled budget. No more of this stuff. No more. If the government shuts down, it shuts down. Say it. Say it exactly like that. If it shuts down, it shuts down. If you guys can't learn to balance a budget based upon the way that it is, you know, they're expecting you and I to do it. You know, if we don't balance our budget, you know, the lights aren't going to stay on, are they? No. But government's allowed to do it, and if they ask nice enough, you and I can authorize them to take as much money as they want. But we're saying no this time. That's all this is. We're saying no, and the reason why we're saying no is because they haven't provided us with any fiscal responsibility. They haven't showed us anything that says that they're serious about making severe cuts to this budget and going back to the way it was before all this ridiculous COVID spending was. No, they don't want to do that. They want to just keep spending your money. It's a free-for-all. It's a cash grab. Criminals. You can see this. You are smarter than they are. And the point is, get involved. Get involved. Do something. Get involved in your community. You are part of the community. You're going to start realizing that we don't have that much differences. We just don't. We may look a little different. We may talk a little different. Some may be a little bit more wiry than others. But bottom line, we're all in the same boat and we're all seasick together. But Matt Gaetz, like him or not, is 100% right. Okay? And anybody who's falling in the same kind of thinking, the bishop, are people that we need to consider. We need to listen to, and we need to support and let them know that we have their support. Because when they start to see the wave of people getting involved and recognizing exactly what's going on, and that they support those who are saying no more spending, no more out of control, kicking the can down the road until next year or whatever. No, we have to address the spending problem now, because I'm paying for it. My neighbor's paying for it. The people down the road are paying for it, and you are paying for it. McCarthy, though, they don't pay for any of it. They get all of the benefits. They don't have any risk. You and I have to clean up all their mess when they're wrong. No more. We're saying no more. Accountability. Matt Gaetz is right. $33 trillion in debt, America. $33 trillion. And we just spent another trillion in the last 90 days. Alrighty, folks. I hope to see you all on the battlefield. Now remember, it's very easy. You just have to get involved. Get involved. You have the power. They fear you. These people fear you. And the more you start to get involved and start to understand the issues and understand exactly the games that they are playing, how they're using your money, how you are suffering every single day, call them. You call them. Call your senator, your representative. You let them know exactly how your life's been over these past 2.5+ years. You let them know exactly what you want them to do. No more spending. No more continuing resolutions. No more passing the buck off, kicking it down. No, we're going to start addressing the budget now. That's what you tell them. You give them a call and you let them know exactly how you feel. All right, folks. I hope to see you on the battlefield. RomanRevolution.com. Check me out. I got tons of videos out there. Share the message, share the message, share the message. That's all we're trying to do. All right. Support Matt Gaetz, too. What a champion. All right, I'll see you on the battlefield. Take care.